Hey YouTube, Longwest Post 1975. Yeah, you read the title. Where to begin? Where to begin? On my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles rant, you know, the one about Michael Bay being a massive wanker, which I stand by, a couple of comments about apparently it's on IGN and it's been greenlit, and there's going to be a Back to the Future remake, reboot. I'm not sure. So the minute I read that, my first thought was, fuck no. My second thought was to jump on Tinterwebs and have a look. Now, I could neither find nor deny the fact that they are remaking this movie. That's not to say the comments that people left were wrong. That might just be me fumbling in the dark on the internet. But there were sort of rumours and rumblings here and there on, you know, forums and stuff, and people talking about casting and stuff like that, that made me think, you've only gone and done it, Hollywood. You've only gone and taken the biggest shit anyone could ever fucking shit on the collective childhood of a lot of fucking people. Now, I don't know if this is so much a rant, to be perfectly honest. I guess this is almost kind of like a grieving process. I've made no secret of this. I mean, there's a fucking DeLorean in my intro. I absolutely love Back to the Future. It's my favourite movie ever. It's been my favourite movie ever from day one. It's never changed. I mean, how many people can say that you saw a movie once, loved it, liked it, and it's never wavered, never changed? It's not just a part of my childhood, although it is, but it's also a part of my life. I watch Back to the Future at least twice a week. I've seen, the number of times I've seen Back to the Future make the number of times other of my favourite movies like Star Wars just pale into insignificance. It's done a number of firsts for me. Back to the Future was the reason I bought my own video recorder for my room, so I could, you know, buy it on videotape and watch it in my room. It was the reason I bought a Blu-ray player. The minute I found out that they cleaned up Back to the Future and it was a proper job on Blu-ray, I bought a Blu-ray player. You know, it's had such a big impact on my life. That may sound like me overstating things, but it has. It's the reason I bought a skateboard as a child and skateboarded, you know. I love Back to the Future. I absolutely love it. So I get that to talk on this subject as I am, I'm probably going to, you know, be kind of, you know, skewered or whatever. But fuck you, Hollywood. It's my love, it's my movie, it's my childhood, it's my life. I'll talk however the fuck I want to talk. So yeah, they're going to remake Back to the Future. There's so much wrong with this. There's so much wrong with this. Not just because it's my favourite movie. I get that a favourite movie is a question of personal taste, so therefore some people out there would just be like, chill out, dick, you know, get over it. But no. However, I am going to be a little bit hypocritical here and say that not all remakes or reboots are shit. I recently, well, yesterday, watched the prequel to The Thing, and while it doesn't hold a part to Carpenter's classic, I really enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it got, you know, overly slated. It was a little too sort of reliant on, you know, computer graphics, and that's one thing I will go on record and say, that I definitely think there's still a place for sort of, you know, props, you know, real effects as opposed to computer graphics. Computer graphics have their part, as they did in the original Back to the Future, you know, because ILM did the special effects. But I think the over-reliance on computer graphics, because you can still tell they're computer graphics, it's still like a big thing in a lot of movies. But yeah, I really like the thing, so I'm not overly opposed to reboots or remakes, and I guess I'm being hypocritical because I am opposed to this one. But it's fucking Back to the Future. Now, here's my thing with this. This is a precious movie to a lot of people. So where are they going to set it? Sorry, when are they going to set it? They can't set it in the 80s, because if they set it in the 80s, then it's basically aimed at all, you know, the original sort of audience, original market, which I guess they got to kind of, you know, throw a little bit of a bone to, but they want to, you know, reach out to newer people, newer audiences. So to set it in the 80s means they're just aiming it squarely at the old audience. So they can't do that. But therefore that means if you set it now, when are they going to go back in time to? I guess the 30-year thing means that it would make sense to go back in time to the 80s. But then that, to me, means, although, you know, we didn't have mobile phones and shit like that in the early 80s or whatever, it's not a big enough divide. To me, life, essentially, you know, movies, there were video games, TV, stuff like that, entertainment is too similar as it is to now. There's not this big divide as there was from the 80s to the 50s. And that's one thing I like to say, by the way. That's what made Back to the Future an absolute classic, timeless movie. Lots of people say it's a cheese fest to the 80s. I disagree. I think the fact that it's set in the 80s, but they go to the 50s, and it was so well portrayed, you know, this division between the two, and the fact that it was so accurate, you know, in the 50s makes it a timeless movie, much like Highlander, in the sense that that's set in the 80s, but because it constantly jumps back and forth between, you know, different periods in time, it gives it this timeless feel. But yeah, to me, you can't set it in the 80s, and if you go set it now and you go back to the 80s, it's no big whoop. Do you know what I mean? The other thing I would like to say, what are you going to use for a time machine? What are you going to use for a time machine? The DeLorean was an absolutely iconic beast of a car. It's a shit car, mind. It's a fucking terrible car. The build quality was absolutely bollocks. It had a shit French engine. When they put the cat converter on it for North America, you cut the horsepower by 40%. The doors froze shut, the windows fell out. If you hit anyone in it, because it was stainless steel, you cut them in half. It was a train wreck of a car. That being said, if I was rich enough, I'd own one in a heartbeat. I fucking love it. You know, I think it's an icon of British, you know, motoring. But yeah, so what you're going to use? Because if you set the movie now, then why would you have a DeLorean? Because at the end of the day, if you're fucking smart enough to make a time machine, you're that you know, sort of intelligent, why are you going to buy a 30-year-old piece of fucking antiquated crap that's unreliable and stick your time machine on that? Because it's all well and good that you can travel in time, and obviously they do touch on this, I guess, in the original Back to the Future towards the end, which is, well, why would you put this piece of amazing technology onto a car that may or may not start every time and is prone to massive electrical and mechanical failure? You wouldn't do that because you're going to get stranded, aren't you? But it brings the point I'm trying to make, which is, well, what car would you use? Because the DeLorean, technically back then, while it was a failed idea or concept of a car, was quite affordable. This amazingly futuristic looking thing with gull wing doors. It was quite affordable. I don't think there's a car in that bracket now that has the same sort of impact, but it's affordable. Do you know what I mean? What are you going to use? You're going to use a Golf, a Sirocco? Lame crap. You know, there's nothing out there, and you ain't going to use a supercar. And if Hollywood do this, because at the end of the day, I'm pretty sure inventing a time machine and buying the resources to run your time machine are pretty costly. So what? Then you're going to throw 200 grand down the toilet on top of that and buy a fucking Lamborghini or a Ferrari and bolt your shit on the back of that so you can go back in time? No, you wouldn't. So I can honestly say you can't use a DeLorean because, you know, maybe it is set in the 80s and maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. But if it is set, you can't use the DeLorean. From the perspective of the story, it would make no sense. But you can't use, you know, anything flashier than that because you're a scientist. You've got limited resources. I don't care how rich you are. You know, that was part of the charm of Doc Brown in the first place, wasn't it? The kind of way he did things, the way he went about things. You know, that, I mean, you just got to look at the original DMC time machine, and it's got that homemade quality all over it, inside and out. And then you got casting. I guess Back to the Future is one of those gems that, while they went out of their way to cast certain individuals in it, they probably didn't realise until they saw the, you know, the final result, what an amazing job they did. You know, how all the cogs fell into place. You got Crispin Glover, absolutely amazing actor, ever so slightly wacky and mental. Check out his David Letterman interview on YouTube. It's hilarious, if ever so slightly scary. You got Leah Thompson. Her portrayal as Marty's mum, you know, future, present, past, is absolutely incredible. Michael J. Fox, enough said, you know, the guy's a legend. Christopher Lloyd, I couldn't remember his name. Christopher Lloyd was absolutely fantastic in that movie. And then you got Biff, because for some reason I cannot remember the name of the actor who played him, but I should, because I was playing Wing Commander the other day. You know, it's pure just magic. It's a case of movies gelling, you know, a movie cast gelling perfectly. So to recast it in itself is a brave, massive step. And I know lots of people say, well, they can do it. I don't know. I've seen on the forums that people are saying that Samuel Jackson should be Doc, but I don't know. I just don't think you could remake that movie, recast that movie as well as they did the original. And the other thing I'd like to say is, kudos to the director who's making this. I know directors always say when they remake or reboot things like, you know, we're going to be respectful of the original material, you know, blah, 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 blah. But you got balls the size of fucking potatoes to make this movie, because basically you're going to become a hate figure. And I hope this movie tanks. That's just me personally. I hope this movie tanks. But I just can't see it succeeding. And it annoys me because Hollywood is so obsessed with money. They won't invest in small independent movies or companies like that. They won't. But they will gamble on something that they know has a massive audience of fan base, and therefore just see that as a reason to make a movie, and kind of ignore the fact that it means a lot to a certain amount of people, like, you know, their childhood or whatever. But they'll take that chance. And if it's a fucking train wreck and it dies and they piss on our fucking love of something and our memories and our childhood, etc., they'll just go meh and look to the horizon for the next sort of movie to remake or reboot. It'll be just, well, we fucked that up, but oh well, let's move on. But what they don't seem to understand is they've destroyed something precious to a lot of people. Anyway, I'll shut up. I'm waffling far too much. I probably shouldn't have made this video. It's just when I kind of semi-confirmed that this was happening, I was upset, basically. I was upset. But Back to the Future, the remake, what do you think? I hope it fucking tanks. I'll see you there.